Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. It's traditional when Hannah's coming down and we're liable to do some work in the garden, which will be restricted to Sunday only this time because we're out all day Saturday going to Burnham's Orchid Festival at their nursery down in Devon. So a nice long drive and back again. Luckily, although that journey is going to be in full sun, the car is air conditioned, so it can be a pleasant journey looking at some wondrous scenery as we go down. So the journey will be nice. If I didn't have air conditioning, probably wouldn't go. When we get there, we will be subject to the weather. On the grounds, we are going into an orchid nursery, which is basically giant greenhouses, and you know what happens to greenhouses when the sun's on them? They get pretty warm. Now, I've seen Burnham's at work, and basically the amount of water that comes down out of the systems and onto the floor and onto the plants and everything, and that does have a cooling effect, and hopefully they will have done that at least in the nursery part. But for the festival itself, obviously they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe, orchid societies which will have displays. They're not going to want them covered in water, that's for sure. And there's also an educational display and several other bits and pieces going on. It's going to be a nice day out. But that's Saturday. Sunday, if we can, we'll do something in the garden. But we won't get a huge amount done because we're still subject to this heat wave. And I don't like working in the sun. I'll put up with it, but Hannah can't. Hannah's conditions, you know, the sort of surgeries that she had and the way her body works, she can't regulate her body temperature very well, which means she suffers when it's cold and when it's hot. She just likes it nice and comfortable in between, which when you're in the middle of a heat wave ain't going to happen. So we will get some work done probably early Sunday morning up to a point, and then move to the shade as the shade moves round the garden and do a bit more. And that's all we can do. You know, we're sort of limited to that. And so be it. But the sort of before look, this is really a look at, you know, what we might get up to. Might being the optimum word. Now over on the planted border, this campanula type stuff, once it's finished flowering, which it has virtually, effectively you do this to it. You just pull it off, and then underneath are all the new shoots, and they grow on and look really nice later in the year, ready to grow into these long dangly bits and flower next year. So there's that to do. That will tidy up this border quite a bit. Sad though it may be, we're probably going to end up cutting the ferns back. See, some of them stayed green. The hart's tongue ferns have done well, they've stayed green, but it's right, there's some birds getting annoyed at the moment because I'm right next to the bird feeders, and that's a young blue tit. It hasn't quite got its proper fear of humans yet, so it sort of thought, oi, come on, I want some food. But yeah, we'll probably have a tidy up in here and just cut back dead stuff. Tidy up the edge, you know, do like I've just shown there, and it will just allow things to grow on. The wisteria needs cutting back again. Just, you know, if you think, those of you remember the big tree in the corner that I had to get a man in with a chainsaw and climbed up to the top at risk life and limb to cut down because it died and leant over. This wisteria here had grown to the top of that tree, all through the hedge, killed this part of the hedge where it swamped it. So when we trimmed the hedge last time, It's funny, last time we trimmed the hedge we only got that far, so this bit hasn't been done. But I don't want to do it now because it'll all fall all over the planted border. I'd rather wait till this all dies back in the autumn. We'll do it later in the year. And it will mean that some of the bits in the hedge have grown thick and the hedge trimmer won't cut through, and we'll have to get the long-handled lopper out. But yeah, there's lots of dieback here. The Welsh poppies have virtually gone over. What I do is I put the hose on this area every other day and give it a really good soaking. But all that's doing is just about keeping stuff alive. It's not really doing much else. The Crocosmia has put on a good show this year compared with last year. There's an awful lot more spikes, but they're not lasting very well. It's a lovely splash of colour though. But whereas I pulled this out and put some plant stands round, hang on, let me move. If I come round here, you can see the plant stands. They're long spikes with a semicircle and they hold plants in place. Unfortunately, the wind we've been having lately has moved them. Oh, right. So now, last time Hannah was here, she pruned that bush nicely. These really tall bushes here, they're getting out of hand now. They're getting too high. So those are going to have to be pruned one day. I'm not saying that's a this weekend job, because that part of the garden, because it's high, will be in the sun too early in the day, I suspect. But again, all of this campanula can all be pulled out, tidied up, blah blah blah. The geraniums need deadheading. The spikes that go over, they need taking off because they drain the energy from the plant. This one's got an absolute mass of colour to come, but this one's a different red. It's a lighter red, and the pom-poms last a reasonable amount of time. This one has a lot more, but they don't last as well. Now the herbs, these are all, there's 3 different types of marjoram in there, and we've now got flowers, and the bees absolutely, well, you can see there's a nice big bumblebee on there now. Don't ask me what sort, because I don't know. One day I will get a bumblebee identification chart and learn some of the more common ones that I'm liable to get in the garden. Right, so we're supposed to be talking about work to be done. The result of pinching the fuchsia a while back is that we have lots and lots of branches, and I suspect if I look carefully there should be some buds showing, although I can't see any at the moment. But we should get some buds starting soon. This does tend to bloom later in the summer. One job that we might try and do is to get everything out of this pot, because it's too nice a pot to waste. Now, it's amazing that the plants that are in there are weeds, and they haven't had any water since we moved that pot last time Hannah was here, which was a month ago. And they're only just starting to wilt. They don't get any water. But if we could empty that pot and get all the rubbish out of it, then it's a usable pot. It won't be for this year, it'll probably be for next year. But that would be a useful job to do, because it might take 2 of us, because it might need tipping upside down and, you know, and then pulling on it with the weight of the contents, you know, using gravity to help get it out. Hannah will definitely trim that because that annoys her, because it hangs out over the path. It's an alder, which should be a tree, but it gets kept as a bush, and Hannah likes pruning things like that because you just prune each shoot in turn. So that will get done, I'm sure. And next to it is another what ought to be a tree, which is the oak. That will probably get all these long extensions will probably get done. And then when we get to the garden, if Hannah can get at it before the sun comes round, then all the old forget-me-nots and those geraniums that have grown away from the hedge, all that needs taken out to get back to the bare gravel beds that are underneath and make it look tidy. so that the ground cover plants like the thyme, you know, actually work better because they look like they were placed there rather than, you know, this at the moment looks like a gravel bed full of weeds because it's so untidy looking. That can all be tidied up by removing what shouldn't be there and what's died back. So that'll be a job that will probably get done this time. Oh, the Red Admiral come to see us. Whoops. Doesn't want to stay though, does he? Perhaps if I stand still he might. No. Off over next door. I don't know why you're going next door, mate. There's no flowers over there. Right, so other bits of jobs that might get done. Not a lot, really. There's not much weeding to do. A job that could be done, if Hannah fancies it, is cutting this ivy back again. And again this side, because it's starting to come out into the border. But quite honestly, this bush needs cutting right back, and it's currently coming into flower, and it does attract the bees once the blooms actually open. So I'd rather that wasn't cut back this time. It can wait till next time, and then that can be cut right back. The ivy can be trimmed back because there's primroses along here. There's bluebells and fritillaries. Not fritillaries, snake's head fritillaries up in that corner. So it would be nice to sort of clear this all out and get it tidy again. And again, this ivy could be trimmed back. There's primroses along here as well. So there's some tidying to do. Now, if I've got somebody to stand on the bottom of the steps, I'm hoping to be able to get up and pull those long extensions to the bamboo across and cut them off, so that we can do that. And then I think the sun's going to come round too soon after that to do much else, because the sun hits that end of the garden first. It comes over the top of the house, comes out from behind that big tree over the top of the house like that. How about that, straight in the camera lens? I bet you enjoyed that, didn't you? Sorry. But there's little tiny jobs like cutting the dead heads off the buddleia, so that it puts a bit more energy into the new shoots. So there's a few tidying jobs, and then there's nothing really much can be done over here. I will show you the scale, because everybody's worried to death about me getting up on this roof. I can understand why, but these are the steps. They're perfectly stable, so I can get up to here. That's what's got to go. Now I've chemically killed it, or the biggest part of it, so it's not going to get any bigger, but it's just got to be cut right back because it's upsetting the neighbours. So it's got to be done, and I believe that, not with my sandals on like I've got now because they're slippy, but if I've got my trainers on, I believe I can get up to that apex, possibly sit down on it, and then waggle the hedge trimmer around and cut all those pieces off, and then try and drag them off the side. But as you can see, these steps are perfectly stable. I'm on the second to top step. I'm not on the top platform, and I could easily step onto the shed from here like that. It's not difficult. So all you people getting worried to death, it's not a big deal. What was a big deal the first time I did it was the fact that I had my sandals on and they kept sliding, so I never felt safe. Really not safe. Whereas with my trainers on that grip, I reckon we should be okay. And then once all that lot's gone, I can felt the roof, because you can see it's falling apart. It's long since had its day. I'm not going to try and get the old felt off. I'm just going to put the new stuff over the top. So that's that. And then in addition to that, if Hannah is pottering about doing plants, then what I could do first thing in the morning is put another coat of stain on the shed. I still haven't managed to go and get the piece of feather edge to actually mend that hole yet. We'll get round to that, but the trouble is it means going into town to get to the timber yard, which is on the other side of town, so I've got to go through the town basically. But yeah, it's going to have to be done at some point. And I've also got this last board to do for the decking. Now none of that's going to get done at this weekend, that's for later. But yeah, we could get another coat on the shed while Hannah's pottering about pruning and tidying like she does. Now that will probably only get one more coat. That hasn't had the top coat yet like this one has, so this is one coat ahead of the front. So this needs 2 coats, that needs 1. I could possibly do all of that, a coat on there and a coat on there to finish it. It's always going to look a bit patchy because of what was underneath, but it's a lot less patchy with this new stain than it was before, so it looks a lot tidier. And get the felt done. That's not a this weekend job, but sometime get that done. That'll tidy this corner up nicely, and then we can get the table and the bench where it's going to end up permanently. And the chances are the table is going to go along there and the bench is going to go along there, because that back bit of decking is wobbly. Should have been replaced with the rest of it really, but it didn't get done because it didn't seem bad. But by putting the bench there, nobody's ever going to walk on it, so it doesn't matter. That's the theory anyway. Yeah, so you could see there are some tidying up jobs to do, which Hannah loves. That's the sort of thing she likes to do, where she can start something and finish it and not leave it half done. That's what she likes. But we will only have an amount of Sunday early in the day. We won't have all day. It'll just get too hot. So we'll only get so much done. But I'd certainly like to see these gravel beds tidied up. That would look good. We had another piece of the pyracantha die back. So we've just got pieces either side now. The central point's died back. What goes wrong with that I really don't know, but it does go wrong. Never mind, it's less to prune. So there we go, that's the sort of things we'll get up to. Tidying, you know, ripping off the stuff that's finished blooming, trimming back dead heads. I'll probably end up cutting the ferns back, the ones that are frazzled, the ones that are still green can stay, trimming the wisteria. Just a general tidy up to smarten it up a bit. And this bush here, I used to know what that was called, but I've forgotten. This blooms on bare branches in February. Well, somebody needs to tell it, because it's not supposed to be blooming now. It's also going mad. We've got 2-foot extensions sticking out the top. Hannah's going to want to cut those off. Those sort of things really annoy her. So she may want to get up and sort those out. So yeah, it's just general tidying really, because if you don't keep on top of it, then it becomes a big job instead of just a pottering around type job, which is what it could be at the moment. So there we go, that's what's going on. And you've had a look on top of the shed at what's involved. Plus you've come up the steps with me. You saw me walk up there, one-handed, running the camera, no effort, no big deal. And you can see that I can step onto the shed really easy. Now okay, if I'm going to take the hedge trimmer up there, I've got to carry that up there, but you know, that won't be a big deal. I can just lay the hedge trimmer on the shed and get myself to where I want to be, and then pick up the hedge trimmer and do the business. So, but that's not going to be this weekend. That might even be done by the end of this week. I might just, it's one of those jobs I might just get up one morning and think I'm going to do that. Trouble is, it's another job that's got to be done early in the day before the sun gets on that roof and it gets too hot. Now soon, with this lack of rain, we've had nearly a month now with no rain at all, and looking at the forecast, there is no substantial rain in the south of England for the next 2 weeks. That's 6 weeks with no rain, a lot of which has been a heat wave. that's going to be the first thing to go in the garden. That will drop its leaves, and that lovely red maple will become a right mess looking for the rest of the year. It happened a few years ago. It's just, I might be able to get some water in round the roots and sort of stop it going into autumn in the middle of July, but we'll have to wait and see. So that's the sort of things we might get up to, just generally tidying. Butterflies in the garden, we've got meadow browns and gatekeepers visit. They don't stay because I haven't got grass. They're grassland and hedgerow type, and hedgerows have got grass all along, you know, so they don't stop. And then we've got red admirals and peacocks that do come in. They land on the buddleia. We've got some whites that come in, small white and large white, and they land on the scabious, the little purple flowers there. They quite like that. And this morning when I put the hose on the there's a juvenile blue tit there. This morning when I put the hose on this area, I disturbed a Jersey tiger moth. Now you can look that up on the internet if you want to see it, but they are a chocolate brown and white mottly pattern, sort of blotchy. It's not stripes, it's not patches, it's sort of blotchy. And then they've got brightly coloured underwings, which are normally hidden when they close their wings. So yeah, I disturbed one of those. That was nice. There's an adult great tit. Oh, there was. See, they're more wary, whereas the juveniles they're not so wary. But anyway, so that's a quick look round. My bonsai desperately need a prune. This one here is just getting quite out of hand. It's lost all it's just a bush, so it's lost its layers. It just needs a trim to sort of bring back this negative space and get rid of these sort of things. But that's got to be done. I don't like working outside, it's too hot. It's got to be done in the grow room, and it's therefore got to be done quite early. And at the moment that time is reserved for looking after the orchids, so they're not getting priority. Same with this one, look, massive extensions. It's just got to recover this negative space so that we can see the parts of the trunk and everything. This one doesn't need anything doing, that's fine. And then under here, trying to keep them out of the sun, massive extensions on my hornbeam, absolutely huge. But I've deliberately let that one grow because it was weak, and therefore it obviously didn't have a very good root system. Allowing a lot of top growth will have improved the roots no end. That's on the list to be repotted late winter, so that one they'll get a repot next year. Buried down in here is my trident maple. You don't need to look very far to see where the extensions are, given that that's a small tree tucked down there. Yeah, so not good. The rest of the tree is my pine, Scots pine. That's doing okay. The new candles have opened up, so we've got some nice bright green new leaves producing good photosynthesis, you know, more top growth, more root growth, you know, and so it perpetuates. It's a little bit of work to do on that sometime. The copper beech is okay. The false larch, the golden larch, that needs a little trim. The Japanese larch next to it needs a good trim, and my Japanese white pine is looking really good at the moment. The candles have opened, so all of that is new growth, so that's looking good. So that's endearingly known as my birthday tree. Yeah, it was somebody gave me some money to buy something nice when I went to the bonsai nursery. And so thank you, Gail, for that. So endearingly known as my birthday tree. And we'll end on that. That needs a little bit of work, it needs a bit of wiring done, not a lot, but we will get round to that once this heat's over. So, and you need, the trouble is when you're wiring trees, you need the new growth to have finished so that the swelling of the branches stops. If if you try and wire it while that's going on, the wire bites in. And then you have to take it off and put it back on again. It's just a waste of time. So we will wait. And in the meantime, that's looking quite nice now. So yeah, so I will show you what we get up to after the weekend. Be a video on Monday or Tuesday, something like that, and let you know how we got on, what work we managed to get done. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.